Perfectionism can absolutely devastate organizations, teams, workers. Of course, it comes with some very good qualities, but the cons are absolutely overwhelming. It can contribute to painfully slow operational bottlenecks, stagnation when it comes to innovation and growth, and even highly dysfunctional interpersonal dynamics. Really, the worst part, though, is that people think perfectionism is a good thing, and they're reluctant to give it up.
Perfectionism is not the same as high expectations.
It becomes really toxic for the people around us when it takes a moral format. When people walk around policing others and projecting moral, rigid, and perfectionistic standards on the people around them. Fear of failure is at the core of perfectionism, this idea that you could make a massive error and this drives a lot of your decision making. Misperception of control. So people end up engaging in a ton of behaviors, and it's mostly an illusion that they have any control in the situation.
What exactly is perfectionism? Two primary components. One is unreasonable expectations and goals. So whatever is considered normative, people with perfectionism, their goals go beyond that. And then the second piece is that a huge amount of rigidity, lack of flexibility, an inability to shift gears, to change lanes, to adapt. When people are perfectionistic, they work so hard to make something perfect that it actually undermines the quality of the product.
Dr. Greg Chasson is an esteemed psychologist who specializes in OCD and perfectionism and anxiety. He has authored or co-authored more than 70 scientific publications and is editor of scientific journal The Behavior Therapist. He is an associate professor at the University of Chicago in psychiatry and behavioral neuroscience.
And emphasis A is to put in all of your energy, give it your all, 110%. And then there's emphasis B, which is just to get her done. Doesn't need to be garbage, doesn't need to be perfect. And then there's emphasis C, which is just not doing it all. There's actually a time and place for all three of those. The PACE pyramid, each piece is built on another. At the bottom you have purpose, which is about that values exploration I was talking about. Use your values as a compass for values congruent behavior. The A stands for approach. Borrowing from behavioral approaches. Lean into those things that are difficult instead of avoiding in all those safety behaviors. The clarity is for changing the stuff that's up here in your noggin, your beliefs, your thinking approach. Talk about some of those in a moment. And then the engagement piece is then extending that out to your social environment. How can you incorporate some of these things to build your social capital?
There are actually things that leaders and managers can do to cultivate an environment where perfectionism is not an obstacle. If you've got an employee or somebody that you work with that is struggling with perfectionism, how can you go about helping them?
People with perfectionism that double down and triple down on things their entire life. They're going to be your most industrious person in the room. Definitely not the most efficient, but probably the hardest working. But again, you don't need to sacrifice these if you want to work on your perfectionism.
Conquering perfectionism feels a little bit like you're dancing in the rain. It's a great feeling because you and your teams freed themselves from rigid thinking. You direct your life according to values that you hold most dear instead of the values that others find most dear. You focus on living life by principles and not rules. You become so much better at prioritizing and you become much more efficient as a result. You do what matters most to you, and you do all this while you're strengthening key relationships. Ultimately, conquering perfectionism leads to this deep satisfaction. It's a feeling of purpose, feeling of worth.